Red Bull's bold move. Can anyone challenge them in 2024? Preseason testing is underway, and Red Bull has once again left everyone stunned. While Ferrari topped the timing sheets on the second and third days in Bahrain, the real force to beat still appears to be the Austrian squad. However, there's one particular development that has taken not just their competitors, but even Red Bull themselves by surprise. This revelation could change everything the teams thought they knew about this crucial aspect of car performance. The big question is, will this innovation allow Red Bull to dominate the 2024 season, leaving the rest of the grid far behind? More importantly, how did they manage to achieve nearly zero tire degradation during testing in Bahrain? A major factor behind Red Bull's dominance has been their ability to control tire wear better than any other team on the grid. Their car setup is designed to extend tire life almost twice as long as their competitors. This was evident in Bahrain, when their lead driver confidently stated, "The car is doing exactly what I want it to do," while their senior advisor issued a stern warning to rival teams about the groundbreaking upgrades they've planned for 2024. The latest design changes Red Bull has introduced aren't just minor adjustments. They could be a complete game-changer for the season ahead. Red Bull's star driver made a statement that must have sent shivers down the spines of their rivals. His confidence suggests that competitors will be seeing a lot more of his car's rear wing in 2024, perhaps even more than they did last season, which already seemed impossible. Speaking about the RB20's behavior on track, he explained, "Our focus wasn't on setting the fastest lap times today. It was more important to complete long runs and understand the car's characteristics better. That's where our attention was, and honestly, everything looked very promising. I'm really pleased with how the car is handling." As the race weekend approaches, the team will shift its focus to fine-tuning the car's balance based on track conditions and temperature variations. Despite not noticing a massive difference from last year's car, he acknowledged that even small factors like wind conditions can significantly impact balance, particularly in high-speed corners like those in Bahrain. But don't just take his word for it. His lap times tell the real story. During race simulations on the C1 compound tires, the hardest in the lineup, he kicked off with a lap time of 1:37.59. Over the next 13 laps, his pace never dropped. Instead of slowing down, he consistently improved his lap times, eventually clocking a 1:36.85, a remarkable level of consistency. A similar trend was observed when he switched to the C3 tires during another long run on the third day. The starting lap time hovered around 1:37.20, but as the stint progressed, he maintained an impressive rhythm. The fact that his fastest times were set on the harder tire compounds hints at something even more intriguing. Red Bull may have been hiding their true engine performance throughout testing. While Ferrari and McLaren made noticeable improvements, their best times were recorded using the softer C4 compound, whereas Red Bull's long-run consistency with harder tires speaks volumes. Add to that the cooler track temperatures dropping to 23 Celsius, and it became clear. This car's performance wasn't just about raw speed, but also incredible efficiency. And if that wasn't enough to shake up the competition, a certain veteran driver even admitted that 19 other drivers already know they won't be fighting for the 2024 championship. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because what comes next might be even more shocking. One of the most crucial aspects of preseason testing is understanding tire degradation. And this is where Red Bull seems to have an almost unfair advantage. Reports from the paddock indicate that their tire wear was nearly non-existent. Of course, no car can have literally zero degradation. The moment a tire touches the abrasive surface of a track like Bahrain, it begins to wear. But what experts mean by zero degradation is that the level of wear has almost no effect on the car's performance. For comparison, other teams have been struggling to figure out why their cars are burning through tires so quickly. Ferrari, despite making strides in this department, is still searching for ways to extend tire life. Mercedes, on the other hand, has completely redesigned parts of their car to address excessive wear. But Red Bull, they've somehow unlocked a way to maintain performance even as the laps pile up. If a team can minimize tire degradation to such an extent, it gives them a massive advantage over the rest of the grid. Other teams might show impressive one-lap pace, but if their tires fall off quickly, they'll be forced into extra pit stops, handing the strategic upper hand to Red Bull. Yes, the rest of the grid has made significant improvements, but Red Bull has refused to play it safe. Instead, they've pushed ahead with a bold new design philosophy, one that both Verstappen and Perez have described as aggressive and daring. And that's exactly the kind of risk needed to not only stay ahead, but set a completely new standard. One that forces every other team to rethink their entire approach. But there's one more game-changing element at play, something that could shake up the entire season before it even begins. A key factor that makes Red Bull's dominance even more concerning for their rivals is how little impact airflow seems to have on their tire wear. Typically, how air moves over and around the front tires plays a significant role in degradation. Yet for Red Bull, it appears to be almost a non-issue. Meanwhile, Mercedes has introduced a highly efficient new front-wing design, one that has already raised eyebrows in the paddock. Many believe it could soon be the target of official protests from other teams. But even with this innovation, their tire wear is nowhere near as controlled as Red Bull's. And then there's the controversy surrounding Red Bull's apparent inspiration from Mercedes' past designs, a concept that didn't work well for Mercedes themselves over the last 2 seasons. Naturally, critics have questioned whether Red Bull is making the same mistake. But Verstappen isn't worried at all. In response to concerns about Red Bull borrowing ideas from a failed concept, he was crystal clear. Our team knows exactly what they're doing. We run extensive simulations to fine-tune our setups before hitting the track. People might be surprised by our choices, but I trust our engineers completely. They are confident that this design is a step ahead of anything else on the grid. Even Helmut Marko, known for his no-nonsense attitude, has backed the team's new direction. He acknowledged that while their chosen concept could come with risks, the amount of preparation and early development work Red Bull put into their 2024 Challenger gives them a significant edge. In his own words, "Our car is not just an evolution, it's a small revolution." That statement alone is enough to send shockwaves through the paddock. A revolution, not just an improvement. If Red Bull's new design philosophy truly delivers, it could completely change the trajectory of the season. But what exactly makes this car so different? And how could it give them an advantage so massive that some teams might already be thinking about 2025 rather than fighting for 2024? One of the most intriguing aspects of Red Bull's 2024 design is their new vertical inlet system on the side pods. At first glance, many assumed it functioned similarly to Ferrari's bypass duct system on the SF24. However, a deeper analysis has revealed that its primary purpose is entirely different. This inlet feeds air directly into the turbocharger cooling system, which now sits lower than ever, practically at floor level. The airflow is directed through a specially designed duct, ensuring that the cooling process is both efficient and aerodynamically optimized. Why does this matter? Because in the first few races of the season, ambient temperatures are incredibly high, making cooling a major challenge. Red Bull's solution not only keeps temperatures under control, but also maintains an ideal center of gravity, preventing any unwanted shifts in weight distribution. But here's where things get really interesting. With this unique cooling setup, Red Bull has positioned themselves to make a major shift in their car concept later in the season, possibly as early as Suzuka. There's speculation that they could transition towards a near-zero pod design, which could take their aerodynamic efficiency to an entirely new level. In simple terms, this isn't just a well-thought-out design for 2024. It's a blueprint that could future-proof Red Bull's dominance for years to come. And that's exactly why teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren should be concerned. If this concept works as expected, it's a checkmate move. Because unlike in previous years, where teams could make small adjustments and hope to close the gap, Red Bull's innovation could force their rivals to completely rethink their entire car philosophy, something that's practically impossible within a single season. With 2026 bringing a whole new set of regulations, most teams won't risk a major redesign for just 1 year in 2025. That means Red Bull's current lead might be untouchable until the next major rule changes. At this point, the only real question is, did Red Bull just end the 2024 championship fight before it even began? While Red Bull's technical advancements have certainly raised eyebrows, what truly sets them apart is how seamlessly they've managed to translate these innovations into on-track dominance. Take Bahrain's preseason testing as an example. The team's race simulations, particularly on harder tire compounds, painted a picture that should concern every rival on the grid. Max Verstappen kicked off his long-run test on the C1 compound, the hardest available, clocking in a 1:37.59 on his first lap. What happened next was nothing short of remarkable. For the next 13 laps, he never posted a time worse than his initial lap. Instead, his pace improved steadily, with his final laps dropping to 1:36.85. That's 9 consecutive laps with lap times within a tenth of a second, an unheard-of level of consistency. This wasn't a one-off performance either. On the third day of testing, Verstappen switched to the C3 tire, a softer compound, and the results were just as impressive. His pace remained relentlessly stable, mirroring the data from his C1 runs. What does this mean? It confirms that Red Bull wasn't just fast, they were effortlessly fast. Unlike their competitors, who showed clear signs of tire wear and performance drop-off, Verstappen's times suggested that Red Bull's degradation was practically non-existent. For comparison, Ferrari and Mercedes spent a significant portion of testing trying to understand and fix their tire wear issues. Even McLaren, which made visible improvements, struggled to maintain consistent long-run pace. Meanwhile, Red Bull's performance barely wavered. To put it plainly, minimal tire wear. No significant drop-off in lap times, consistent pace across different compounds. If this holds true when the season begins, Red Bull might not just be leading, they could be untouchable. But there's one more factor that could truly seal the fate of the 2024 season. While Red Bull's tire management is already setting them apart, there's another key factor that could put the entire grid at a serious disadvantage: hidden engine performance. During the third day of testing, Verstappen's lap times raised a major question. Was Red Bull running at full power, or were they holding something back? At first glance, their lap times suggested that they were already ahead of the competition, even when running harder tires. But a closer look at their speed traces and telemetry data hints at something even more unsettling for their rivals. Red Bull might not have fully unleashed their engine's potential yet. This theory gained traction when Verstappen consistently posted faster times on the harder C1 tires than he did on the softer compounds. Normally, the softer tires should be quicker, providing more grip and traction. But if Red Bull's car performed better on the harder tire, it suggests that they were deliberately underplaying their engine power output during the test sessions. Why would they do this? Simple. Strategy. By not revealing their true pace, Red Bull could avoid giving their competitors a clear benchmark to chase before the first race. If their rivals go into the opening round underestimating Red Bull's actual race pace, they might already be playing catch-up from the start. Adding fuel to this speculation, Verstappen himself downplayed any major changes in the car's performance, saying, "I didn't feel a massive difference from last year." These cars are sensitive to wind, and on a track like this, where wind can influence your balance a lot, the feeling was quite similar to before. But actions speak louder than words, and the numbers don't lie. Verstappen's race simulation pace was relentless. He was able to keep his lap times consistent even as track temperatures dropped to 23 degrees, a condition that normally causes performance fluctuations. Meanwhile, Ferrari and McLaren were focusing on shorter stints with softer tires, which made their speed look competitive on paper. But in reality, their performance was unstable, and they showed noticeable degradation over longer runs. This is exactly where Red Bull's advantage becomes terrifying. They've built a car that is fast, even on harder tires, extremely stable over long runs. Likely not running at full power yet. If their true engine potential is still hidden, we might not see Red Bull's real pace until the first race weekend, when it's too late for their rivals to respond. And that's not even the most concerning part. There's still one more secret weapon Red Bull might be hiding. While Red Bull's dominance in tire management is already shaking up the competition, another crucial element is keeping their rivals awake at night. The radical design changes that could make their car nearly untouchable. Helmut Marko has already hinted that this year's car is not just an evolution, but a small revolution. Unlike other teams who have opted for safer upgrades, Red Bull has taken a bold approach that could redefine performance standards. One of the biggest surprises comes from the side pod design. At first glance, many expected Red Bull to stick with their highly successful RB19 philosophy, but instead, they've introduced a vertical inlet cooling system, a move that has the potential to change everything. Why is this a game changer? Unlike traditional side pod designs, Red Bull's new cooling setup places the heat exchanger closer to the floor, allowing better weight distribution and improved aerodynamic efficiency. This setup lowers the center of gravity for better handling, reduces drag by optimizing airflow through the side pods, improves cooling efficiency, crucial for the opening races in hot conditions. This design is so unconventional that it has left other teams scrambling to understand how it works. Some experts believe it serves a similar purpose to Ferrari's bypass duct, but Red Bull's version seems far more aggressive. If this setup delivers the expected downforce and cooling advantages, it could mean Red Bull has solved a fundamental issue that has plagued many teams, balancing cooling needs without sacrificing performance. And that's not all. Sources inside the paddock suggest that Red Bull is already preparing further modifications for later races, particularly for circuits like Suzuka, where a shift towards a near-zero pod concept could provide another boost in efficiency. This means that the Red Bull we see in the first few races might not even be their final form. If the rest of the grid was hoping to close the gap, this revelation could crush those expectations completely. Because while Ferrari and Mercedes are still refining their 2023-based concepts, Red Bull is already shaping what could be the new standard for the future. But there's one more thing that makes this even more terrifying for their rivals. Here's the final part of your script, wrapping everything up with a strong ending. If Red Bull's latest innovations deliver on their promise, we could be witnessing a season unlike any other. While other teams have made big improvements, the reality is that they're still playing catch-up. Even Mercedes, known for their strategic moves, has been forced to rethink their entire car concept. Ferrari and McLaren have shown promising signs, but if Red Bull's tire degradation advantage and radical design upgrades work as expected, then their rivals might already be fighting for second place. And let's not forget, this isn't just about 2024. Since teams won't completely overhaul their designs before the 2026 regulation changes, Red Bull's aggressive approach could set the standard for the next 2 seasons. So, what does this mean for the rest of the grid? If Red Bull maintains their low tire wear and high efficiency, the gap could widen even further. If their new cooling system and aerodynamic tweaks prove successful, the competition might not stand a chance. And if Red Bull is hiding more pace for the actual race weekends, then this season could be over before it even starts. With Max Verstappen's consistency, Adrian Newey's genius, and Red Bull's relentless push for perfection, the message is loud and clear. They're not here to just win, they're here to dominate. So, what do you think? Has Red Bull already secured the 2024 championship? Or do you believe Ferrari, Mercedes, or McLaren can pull off a surprise comeback? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated with everything happening this season, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out the next video on your screen right now.